On March 1872, a brigantine named the Colonel was sailing through the Atlantic Ocean when its lookout spotted an unusual sight, a ghost ship. The vessel looked to be in perfect condition. Its sails were set and it was moving through the water under full steam, but there was not a single soul on board. The lookout immediately reported his findings to Captain Thomas Nickerson, who wasted no time in steering the Colonel toward the mysterious ship. It appeared as if the crew had just abandoned their ship and fled, but that was far from the truth. As Nickerson approached, he noticed that the ship's hatches were tightly closed, its rigging was taut, and the wheel was locked. Everything about the ship suggested that it had been abandoned in a hurry, but nobody had left the ship. As he cautiously made his way onto the deck, he discovered that all of the crew's personal belongings were still there, along with the ship's logbook, which revealed some shocking information. The ship's name was Mary Celeste, and it had set sail from New York 2 weeks earlier, bound for Genoa, Italy. And now it was found deserted in the middle of the Atlantic with no signs of where its crew could have gone. With no other option, Nickerson decided to take the ship back to New York and see what information he could find. When they arrived, the Mary Celeste became one of the most talked about mysteries of the time, capturing the public's imagination and inspiring countless theories. It was during the golden age of piracy, and rumors abounded that the Mary Celeste may have fallen victim to a band of ruthless pirates who had slaughtered the crew and stolen the ship. But this theory quickly fell apart when investigators discovered that the ship's cargo of industrial alcohol had been untouched, making it unlikely that the crew would have been willing to risk their lives to stop the pirates from stealing it. Instead, it seemed more likely that the crew had abandoned ship willingly, perhaps because of a storm or some other disaster. But as days turned into weeks and no sign of the missing crew was found, the public began to panic. Fears grew that they had been kidnapped by a notorious gang of seafarers known as the Brethren of the Coast, who had been terrorizing the waters around Cape Hatteras for years. These men lived by their own laws and were said to be led by the infamous Blackbeard himself. They were rumored to have buried the Mary Celeste's crew alive and then sailed away with their ship. But once again, this theory was disproven when evidence showed that the cargo had not been tampered with, meaning the crew wouldn't have left behind such valuable goods. As investigators dug deeper, they began to uncover disturbing details about the ship's captain, Benjamin Briggs. Born in 1839 in the port city of Salem, Massachusetts, Briggs had been haunted by a dark secret since childhood. At the age of 14, he had been involved in a terrible accident that claimed the life of his father, a well-respected sea captain. Despite this tragedy, Briggs followed in his father's footsteps and became a sailor, traveling to every corner of the globe. He married Sarah Hamilton, the daughter of a wealthy family, and together they had a son whom they named Arthur. But Briggs's past was never far from his mind, and he became increasingly reclusive, spending long periods at sea to escape his demons. On November 7, 1871, he took command of the Mary Celeste and set sail for Italy with his wife and daughter, along with 6 other crew members. They planned to return to the United States in the spring, but somehow their journey would end in tragedy. Investigators combed through the ship's logbook looking for clues to what had happened. In the final entry made by Briggs, he noted that the weather was calm and there was nothing out of the ordinary. But as they continued their search, they found something that sent shockwaves around the world. In the cabin where Sarah and Arthur had been sleeping, they found a strange message scrawled on the wall. "Beware of the water." The cryptic message only added to the mystery, leading people to speculate that the family may have been the victim of foul play. To make matters worse, as news of the Mary Celeste's disappearance spread, more and more theories began to emerge. Some believed that aliens had taken the crew, while others thought they had encountered a mythical creature known as the Kraken, a giant squid or octopus that is said to dwell in the depths of the ocean. These theories were not based on any evidence, but they captured the public's imagination and became part of the enduring mystery of the Mary Celeste. One theory that has stood the test of time is that the crew of the Mary Celeste was lost to piracy. Pirates were known to operate in the waters of the Caribbean and the Atlantic, and it is possible that they could have attacked the Mary Celeste and taken the crew off for ransom, or simply killed them and left their bodies in the ocean. However, there is no evidence to support this theory, and it's also unlikely that the pirates would have left the ship's cargo untouched. Another popular theory is that the crew of the Mary Celeste was lost due to a storm. Storms are common in the Atlantic Ocean, and it is possible that a particularly bad one could have caused the ship to become damaged and forced the crew to abandon ship. This theory is supported by the fact that the ship's hatches were closed, which could indicate that the crew was trying to protect themselves from the elements. Additionally, the ship's wheel was locked, which could suggest that someone was at the helm trying to navigate the storm. However, there is no evidence that a storm had occurred in the area at the time the Mary Celeste was sailing, and it's unlikely that a strong enough storm would have caused the crew to abandon ship. A third theory is that the crew of the Mary Celeste was lost due to disease. Disease can spread quickly on ships, and it is possible that the crew of the Mary Celeste may have been infected with a deadly virus or bacteria. This theory is supported by the fact that there were no lifeboats found in the ship's lifeboat, which could indicate that the crew was too sick to launch them. Additionally, the fact that the ship was found drifting in the ocean suggests that the crew was unable to control it, possibly due to their illness. However, there is no evidence that any of the crew members were ill, and it's unlikely that a disease would have struck down the entire crew. The final and perhaps most intriguing theory is that the crew of the Mary Celeste was lost due to supernatural causes. Some believe that the crew may have been the victims of a curse, while others believe that they may have encountered a ghost ship or otherworldly beings in the ocean. This theory is not supported by evidence, but it's possible that the crew encountered something that they were unable to explain, leading them to panic and abandon ship. The disappearance of the crew of the Mary Celeste remains one of the most baffling mysteries of the sea. Despite numerous theories, no one knows what really happened to them. Perhaps we may never know the truth behind the disappearance of the crew of the Mary Celeste, but their story continues to fascinate us and serve as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of the ocean. The Mary Celeste serves as a reminder of the unpredictability of the sea and the importance of always being prepared. Who knows what dangers may lie ahead, so be sure to stay safe and vigilant on your next voyage. What do you think happened to the Mary Celeste and her crew? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching. Until next time.